This week you join me aboard the Mercedes EQV, which is the fully electric version of the Mercedes V-Class. The EQV is a thoroughly unique vehicle because it offers van-like levels of interior room, but also the kind of luxury fit and finish that you would expect to find in a Mercedes. Well, granted, it's not quite up to the same level as Mercedes' usual cars, but for a commercial type vehicle, it's really good. It's got a pretty big 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, but its usable net capacity is 90 kilowatt hours. And while Mercedes does offer the V-Class in several length variants, the EQV is only available either as a long or extra long vehicle. That means it's either just over 5.1 meters long or just over 5.3 meters long. Both versions get the same number of seats, either 7 or 8, but what differs between them is the trunk capacity, which is it's absolutely massive. If you think your big SUV has a big trunk, well, you should see one of these. And this is going to be a theme of this review, because I think that most people who buy an SUV to drive around town or do their daily chores or carry their family around would be better off in a V-Class, and if they want an electric vehicle, then the EQV is just that. It's an electric version of the V-Class. And I honestly thought that since it's not a bespoke electric vehicle built on a special EV platform, like some of Mercedes' upcoming electric vehicles are, I thought that it was gonna feel cobbled together. But honestly, I actually like it very much. But first, let's get the EV side of things out of the way. So, as I said, it's got a pretty big 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, but the usable capacity is 90 kilowatt hours. It has a claimed WLTP range of 363 kilometers, although you should expect somewhere around 300 in the real world, maybe. The estimated range meter showed 287 kilometers when I picked the car up from Mercedes, and it had 98% state of charge in the battery. If you drive it on quicker roads at higher speeds constantly, the range will probably drop to around 240, maybe 250 kilometers. But that's still pretty good considering how big this vehicle is. Unlike most other V-Class variants, the EQV is actually front-wheel drive. So there's a 200 horsepower electric motor driving the front wheels. It also makes 363 Newton meters of torque, and it pushes this big 2.6 ton luxury van for people, luxury people carrier van, to 100 kilometers per hour from standstill in just under 12 seconds. And it's quicker than you might expect. I mean, it does get out of its own way. It doesn't feel sluggish or underpowered. And whenever you stab the go pedal, the motor noise that comes through into the cabin sounds like some sort of whooshing noise. It's quite different to other EVs. It sounds like a turbocharged car whose induction pipe has burst and it has a leak in it. I'm not sure it's coming through the lav mic, but I can definitely hear it. It sounds like a big vacuum cleaner. And I mean that in a good way, obviously. And just like any other V-Class, the EQV is surprisingly maneuverable and easy to drive. You can apply a lot of lock on the front axle, and you can really get the front end to turn. Better than you might be expecting if you've not driven one of these. This is actually my second V-Class that I've ever driven. this EQV is like so much quieter and so much more refined. At the same time, it's worth noting that because there's no longer any diesel engine drone to drown out some of the noises, you hear everything. And the cabin, it's a big squarish rectangular thing, and it's kind of boomy. But you expect this from a commercial type vehicle, don't you? The driving position is akin to sitting in a very comfortable chair or armchair. It is quite far off the floor of the vehicle, so you sit very naturally. Your legs aren't stretched out in front of you. And all of this vehicle's 7 seats are super comfortable. The 2 in the middle row actually get 2 individual armrests that are adjustable. And you can also slide them forward and back and even remove them. They even have a sliding console in between them that has 2 picnic tables that you can pop out when you need them. Theoretically, you could use this car as a mobile office and just like have your laptop on the little table and do your work there. Of the passengers, probably the people in the middle row are the most pampered because they have no problems with either leg room or shoulder room. The rearmost row, where Mercedes has put 3 seats, you might be brushing shoulders with the person next to you in the 3rd row. If you don't like that, then you might find the trunk really rather roomy and accommodating. It has a load volume of over 1,000 liters without any of the seats removed. And if you remove all of the seats and just use this as a cargo van, then you're looking at over 4,000 liters of cargo. But those are typical numbers for a van. They're impressive when you compare them to regular vehicles, even big SUVs, as I mentioned. Mercedes says that you can charge this vehicle at a maximum 110 kilowatts. At that rate, you should be able to bring the battery from dead to 80% in around 40 minutes. If you charge from a 50 kilowatt charger, you're looking at close to an hour and a half or more to get the same level of charge back into the battery, so from close to empty up to 80%. As with all its other EQ models that are based on an ICE model, Mercedes has applied a few visual tricks to try to differentiate the EV from the ICE models. For instance, the grille is different compared to other V-Class variants, and it looks similar to what you might see on the EQC or the EQA or the EQB or any EQ model really. It also comes with unique wheels. There are also EQV badges up high on the front fenders. And there's a charge port located in the left corner of the front bumper, which gives you either a Type 2 connector or a CCS fast charging connector. The only other way to differentiate this from other V-Class variants is to look at the badge on the back, which says EQV 300. Inside, the only giveaway that you're in the electric version are the dials, which are analog dials, but the rev counter has been replaced by a charge boost gauge. And there's also this blue leather-like material that's on top of the dashboard. I've seen this in the EQC that I drove a few months back, and it actually looks pretty good. And it's a trademark material of Mercedes' EQ lineup. Unlike other older Mercedes models that are still on sale and have been updated, the V-Class and the EQV get MBUX, the automaker's latest and greatest infotainment system. It works just as well as in any other new Mercedes. It ditches the previous control method for this touchpad with haptic feedback and shortcuts around it. And unique to the V-Class and the EQV is that in the panel of shortcut buttons around the touchpad, you also get 2 buttons to electrically operate the rear sliding doors. So when you roll up to the VIP or VIPs you're picking up, you can just casually press the button and the doors open as if by magic. You can also open the huge rear hatch electrically, and the passengers all the way in the back actually get opening windows. Although they don't roll down, they just open outward a little bit, also electrically. This vehicle also has heated and cooled front seats. And another option that it doesn't have, but it's probably quite nice for this vehicle, is there's a panoramic glass roof available as an option. In Romania, where I'm currently driving this EQV, its starting price is 74,000 euros. But I'm sure this example that I'm driving today, while not fully loaded, is probably close to or maybe over the 80,000 euros mark. And for that kind of money, you probably think it's really expensive for a van. But then again, it's literally the only vehicle of its type on the market. A luxury 7 or 8-seater electric people carrier. What is perhaps amusing to me is that Mercedes chose not to sell the EQV in the United States, where people carriers like the Chrysler Pacifica, for instance, or the Honda Odyssey are still very, very popular, in spite of the fact that more and more people are opting for an SUV. Don't ask me why they opt for SUVs. I don't get it. And I could argue with you for hours as to why you should not get an SUV and why there are better alternatives to your potential SUV purchase, but that's a topic for another time. To sum things up, the EQV is a surprisingly lovable vehicle, even if you love driving. It's very relaxing, it's powerful enough. It even draws a few looks, especially if it's painted this very nice shade of white, which I'm not sure what the name of is, but I'm going to look it up and put it on screen. And as you can see, that as I'm driving over this quite poor tarmac, I'm actually not being bounced around too much. Sure, the suspension is floaty and you feel like there's a lot of travel, but this just means you are not bounced or jiggled around. This vehicle is very relaxing to drive on longer journeys. And I'm sure it makes sense for many people, be it as a plush airport shuttle, or I don't know, maybe a green small city bus for picking up private school kids and then taking them back home in the evening. You know, that kind of thing. It might also make sense as an alternative to cars like the Tesla Model X for some people, because it offers one more seat than that vehicle. And it's far, far more practical. I mean, if you remove some of the seats, like the last row of seats in the back, you could probably fit some sort of mattress in there and just sleep. You wouldn't even have to bring a tent with you camping. It is expensive though, but what Mercedes isn't? I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and until the next one, take care.